Who doesn't love a good revenge film? There's nothing like watching a character get pushed too far and then watching them fight right back. But not all revenge movies play it the same way. Some have a cathartic payoff, others make you wonder if the revenge was ever worth it. Welcome to the Cinema Cult. I'm your guide, CT. Today I've got 8 brutal modern revenge films that all take different approaches to their tales of vengeance. So if you dig fight-filled action, slick sci-fi, or westerns where loners deal out their own brand of justice, well, you're in the right place. And I'm going to kick this list off with a movie that goes out to anyone who's ever dealt with a scammy telemarketer. It's an action-heavy flick called The Beekeeper. Released in 2024 and directed by David Ayer, The Beekeeper stars Jason Statham as the titular beekeeper, Adam Clay. And this guy is literally keeping bees, but he's also a recently retired super assassin who worked for a secret group known as the Beekeepers. And when a phishing scam drains the life savings of his kind elderly neighbor, she feels like she's left with only one choice. And once Adam discovers her body, well, he knows it's time to come out of retirement and tend to the hive once again, but this time, it's personal. This movie is 100% committed to the bee metaphors, and yeah, it is ridiculous, but it's also kind of what makes the movie so much fun. Jason Statham's had a long career of action roles ranging from fairly grounded to completely absurd, and while this movie is not going to go to the insane levels of something like Crank, it definitely knows how to have fun with this fairly ridiculous premise. Now, everything this guy does is over the top. He's not just going to go into a call center and kill everyone. He's going to roll up with cans of gasoline, dousing computers and humans alike before torching the whole operation. And as for the guy running that call center, well, he gets sent on a long trip off a short bridge, and it's absolutely awesome. In addition to seeing this beekeeper in action, I love the way his mystique is built up by these other characters. It reminded me of John Wick in that way, and he's not a man out of control though, and the way he doles out this vengeance, it is targeted. When he's fighting both federal agents and mercenaries hired by the bad guys, the federal agents all get non-lethal blows. Those mercenaries, they get shot, stabbed, and just downright brutalized as this beekeeper makes his way up the chain of scammers. And where this chain leads is so over the top, I couldn't help but laugh at the reveal, but at the same time, it also really fits the tone and style of this movie perfectly. So if you're in the mood for a slick, action-packed revenge film with some classic Jason Statham ass-kicking, make sure you check out The Beekeeper. Now, if you're in the mood for a more brutal style of revenge, my next selection's been touted as the most violent and goriest film India has ever produced. We're going international with this one, and it's simply called Kill. I am admittedly not super familiar with Indian cinema, but Kill is one of my favorite action movies that's come out of any country in the past couple of years, mostly due to how brutal this one gets. However, this movie starts out subdued. We're following Amrit and his army commando buddy who've jumped on a train to Delhi to stop Amrit's girlfriend from an arranged marriage. The love of his life is on this train along with her family, but there's also a large gang of knife-wielding bandits looking to rob the passengers. And when the violence first kicks off, Amrit stays restrained, using non-lethal force to try and disable these bandits. And then, right around the 45-minute mark, one of these bad guys brutally murders Amrit's fiancée, the title card drops, and this turns into one of the bloodiest, most violent action revenge films you're ever gonna see. He's no longer interested in disabling these guys, and now he's gone completely feral. He starts tearing through these guys like they're barely there, having exchanged punches for stabs, slices, and fire extinguisher head cave-ins. And from the perspective of the bandits, this is now a straight-up horror movie. They didn't expect these kinds of consequences, and they're up against a guy who's basically Michael Myers with MMA training. He even strings up the mutilated corpses of these bandits, so the survivors have to make their way through them just to get to them. And since these bandits are all related, there's much wailing and gnashing of teeth upon this discovery. These bandits unleash something they cannot compete with, and this guy's not going to stop until each and every one of them are dead. But my favorite moment gotta be when he smashes a canister of Zippo fuel into this guy's mouth and gives him a DIY Ghost Rider makeover. And that one takes the prize for most original kill in this movie for sure. So if you're a fan of action or slasher films, Kill is a movie you should definitely check out. And I should mention, this movie is in Hindi with subtitles, but don't let that turn you off, because ass-kicking is a universal language that this film definitely gets right. Now, The Beekeeper and Kill, they show what happens when highly trained killers get revenge, but my next film shows what happens when someone with no training goes down a vengeful route. This one's called Blue Ruin. Yeah, those first two films made revenge look so cool, I felt like I needed to ground things with Blue Ruin. This is a 2013 film from director Jeremy Saulnier, who also made one of my all-time favorite siege films, Green Room. And just like that movie, this one feels grounded and real, and the setup follows a guy named Dwight. He's living out of his car at the beach, and he finds out that the man convicted of killing his parents is being released. So he waits outside the prison, follows this guy to his release party at a bar, and confronts him in the bathroom. Now, you're not going to get any witty one-liners or drawn-out speeches, just a fairly clumsy fight that's over in seconds. Dwight seems as surprised as anyone that he actually went through with this act, but this broken man who wanted revenge just opened up a whole new can of worms. This guy's family, they're not the type to call the cops. They take care of their own business, and while Dwight might be homeless, his sister and her young children still occupy Dwight's parents' old house, and that's where that family's gonna start looking for him. Now, I absolutely love how tense this movie made me feel while watching it. It's the kind of movie that builds up like a pressure cooker with occasional outbursts of sudden, brutal violence. And it all leads up to a climactic standoff in a living room where everyone's got a reason to pull the trigger, and you're just waiting to see who's gonna do it first. Now, without getting too deep into the spoilers, there are revelations in this movie that reframe everything about this revenge and really drive home how pointless all of this violence has been, but also the cyclical nature of the violence. This is not a movie that makes revenge look satisfying, and it's probably going to make you question whether revenge is worth it at all. It's a reminder that when you do go down that road, you don't go alone. You drag everyone you care about with you as well, so you better be willing to take that revenge all the way, because the other side probably will be. Now, if you're looking for a film that's not glorifying revenge and makes violence feel not only dangerous, but also very consequential, you definitely need to check out Blue Ruin. There's one common thread between these first three films. It's all these guys needed some help to take their vengeance. Now, my next movie proves that you need to be careful who or what you trust when seeking revenge. It's called Upgrade. Upgrade is a 2018 film written and directed by Lee Wanell. This is a sci-fi revenge film set in a near future where the protagonist literally loses his humanity in the course of his revenge. Now, Upgrade follows a man named Gray. He's an old school guy. He can't stand this increasingly automated world, and you know what? He's right not to trust the technology, because on his way home with his wife one night, their self-driving car reroutes to the wrong side of the tracks, crashes, and gets them assaulted by a gang of thugs. Gray's wife is murdered, and he's left a quadriplegic, now dependent on the machines that he despises. When a mysterious tech guru offers to implant Gray with an experimental chip that would allow him to walk again, it's an offer he can't refuse. And this AI chip called STEM does more than let him walk, and he's even stronger and faster now. STEM can even talk to Gray, evaluating situations and giving him clues on how to find his wife's killers. For me, this movie is all about Gray's increasing willingness to give control over to the AI. He starts out hating technology, but then before you know it, he's given permission for the AI to take over in a fight, and that produces some extreme results. Now, I absolutely love the bewildered look on Gray's face as his hands are beating the hell out of this guy with robotic precision, and it's completely out of Gray's conscious control. The AI brutally kills this guy, and Gray didn't set out to kill, he just wanted justice, but well, once you've killed someone, you can't go back, and now he's got to hunt down the rest of this gang. Gray becomes increasingly reliant on this AI chip to stay in these fights because it turns out these baddies are also cyborgs, and they're equipped with powerful arm cannons to boot. Now, things get more out of control and the beatdowns get even more brutal, but by the time Gray has gotten his revenge, he's fully given himself over to this AI, and now it's impossible to tell where the AI ends and Gray begins. It's a hell of a cautionary tale about who or what to trust if you go down a vengeful path, so if you're looking for a sci-fi revenge film that gets under your skin, check out Upgrade. Okay, so now that I've gotten some cautionary tales out of the way, let's get back to the ass kicking. And to do that, I gotta go with a Scott Adkins movie. If you don't know who that is, well, you're about to. This movie's called Avengement. Now, I kicked this list off with a movie starring Jason Statham. He's probably the best known modern British action movie star. The star of this movie, Scott Adkins, I think he's the most underrated modern British action star. Now, if you've never seen one of his films, Avengement is the perfect place to start, not only because it's a kick-ass revenge flick, but it's also available for free on YouTube. So I'll make sure to leave a link in the description so you can check it out. Now, this movie follows Kane, a fighter sent to prison after botching a job for his crime boss brother. But that's not all. He gets sent to the worst prison in the country, and Big Bro has put a big bounty on his head. So his days are spent fighting literally every other prisoner in this place just to survive. And I love how this movie's framed up, starting with Kane breaking free from his prison guards and showing up at a private pub, where he promptly beats up the bouncers and takes everyone inside hostage. And these guys are all in his brother's crew, and Kane's here to take vengeance upon his brother, so while they all wait for Big Bro to show up, he regales them with the tales of how he got there. And just looking at this guy, you want to know this story. Since most of this movie is told in flashbacks, it's absolutely crammed with brutal fight scenes. And the way these scenes are shot and choreographed really makes it feel like you're there watching the fight happening in front of you. A lot of that is because this dude, Scott Adkins, is the real deal. These scenes don't need 20 cuts a second to feel intense, because it's just captivating to watch this guy whoop some ass. It doesn't matter who comes at him, whether it's in prison or it's in the pub, he's gonna disarm them and make them sorry they ever came his way. Now, what elevates this one above your average revenge film is the Robin Hood twist that Kane isn't just fighting for himself. He memorized the names of the 147 families his brother defrauded, and getting them their payback was the fuel driving him to survive to take on his brother and his entire crew. All right, moving on. I think every good revenge movie list needs at least one Western, so how about a revenge Western from a director known mostly for horror movies? This one's called In a Valley of Violence. In a Valley of Violence is a 2016 film written and directed by Ty West. He's a filmmaker best known for horror movies like The House of the Devil or the X trilogy, but here he's lending his slow burn style to this modern take on old spaghetti westerns. And it stars Ethan Hawke as Paul. He's a mysterious drifter who rolls into a half-deserted mining town along with his dog and a desire to be left alone. Now, of course, the local loudmouth Gilly can't help but pick a fight with Paul, not realizing he just set himself for the quickest ass kicking of his life, and Paul is just interested in moving on afterwards, especially when he finds out that Gilly's the son of the town's marshal, played by John Travolta. Now, those two come to an understanding and Paul moves on. The only problem is Gilly's not the kind of guy to let things go, and he is the kind of piece of shit to kill someone's dog. And this movie really makes you fall in love with this dog, Abby. And I know my blood was boiling, and I couldn't wait to see Paul rip these guys apart in the back half of this film, and that's exactly what happens. Now, I was a little surprised that the tone kind of lightened up a bit as the revenge kicked in. Gilly and his crew are nothing but bullies who have no idea who they've messed with, and they begin to crumble the moment this guy strikes back. Now, I love the one dude who keeps standing in front of windows despite being repeatedly warned not to, and you know he's gonna get shot through one of these windows at some point. It's just a matter of when. Apparently Ty West is a master of the slow burn joke as well, and I just love that one. Now, I think part of the reason genre filmmakers jump at the chance at making westerns is because the landscape just looks so beautiful. This movie was made on location in New Mexico, and there are some absolutely gorgeous shots in this movie. Now, the cast here is also fantastic. Ethan Hawke is definitely one of my favorite genre movie leading men. And I actually really liked John Travolta as the marshal and father of the bully in this one. In a Valley of Violence doesn't have Clint Eastwood playing a man with no name, but I enjoyed it as a modern take on a classic Western revenge tale. And moving on, we're keeping this one out west in a scorching desert with a woman whose mind is set on vengeance. And how could I not include this one? It's literally called Revenge. Director Coralie Farge made a name for herself in 2024 with The Substance, but 7 years earlier, she had her feature debut with this movie called Revenge. And you can see a lot of her signature style already in this one, the way she frames a shot, the way she's not shy about shooting the human body, and those up-close views of gross men eating. She's a filmmaker that lets the visuals do a lot of the heavy lifting. And this film follows Jen. She's the mistress of a wealthy guy named Richard, and they've flown out to his remote desert property for some alone time. Things are fine until Richard's hunting buddies show up a day early, and it's pretty clear why Richard didn't want Jen and these dudes crossing paths. They both act like they've never seen a woman before. Now, I usually avoid these kinds of revenge films. I've seen Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave and Irreversible many years ago, and those were enough for me, but you know what? I'm glad I made an exception and checked this one out. The tone of this movie definitely shifts in a big way once Jen awakens, and it gets even more stylish and at times pretty fantastical. Probably the best example of that is Jen's wound treatment scene in the cave, and she takes some peyote and then uses an empty beer can impaled on a huge knife to treat a very gnarly impalement wound. And when she wakes up in the morning, what she's left with is a fully cauterized wound, and the image from the beer can is imprinted on her skin like a badass tattoo. It's a good hint as to how over the top this movie's gonna be willing to get as it moves forward. It's pretty fun to watch these three wannabe alpha males realize she's picking them off one at a time, draining away their smug confidence that they'd get away with all this. Now, I also love Jen as a revenge taker because she doesn't say a damn thing to these guys. Most of the dudes taking revenge in these earlier movies like to give a big speech or a monologue about how they've been wronged before they finish the job, but Jen is all action, no talk. And I think that silence says more than any one-liner ever could. Moving on from there, I've got one more revenge film, and this one is brutal and bloody, and it's a team-up revenge. This one's called Mayhem. I really wanted to end this list with something a little different, and for anyone who's ever had their soul sucked out by corporate America, this movie was made for you. Released in 2017 and directed by Joe Lynch, Mayhem is set in a world where they're having outbreaks of a virus called ID7 with some pretty wild symptoms. It turns your eyes blood red and removes all moral and ethical boundaries, causing people to act on their most basic instincts. Not only that, there's legal precedent that if you're infected, you're not liable for your actions. So when this virus breaks out inside a corporate law firm and the building goes into quarantine, two people who have been royally screwed over by this company find themselves locked up together. Derek's just been fired after getting set up as a fall guy. Samara Weaving's character is about to lose her home thanks to the company's predatory practices. Now with nothing left to lose, and the virus raging through them, they decide to team up and fight their way to the penthouse to take out the executives responsible. Steven Yeun and Samara Weaving absolutely own their roles here and seem to be having a blast kicking ass together. And I enjoyed their back and forth banter almost as much as the relentless beatings, and they definitely make a great team. And I also really like how this movie's structured almost like a video game. These two have to fight their way up floor by floor, obtaining key cards to make it to the next level. And the battles on the way are absolutely brutal. From one-on-one fights to full-out group brawls, this movie just about has it all. And while it is brutal and bloody, it's also pretty much consistently winking at the audience the entire time. That's why I saved this one for last. It's by far the least serious revenge movie I've covered here today, but even so, it's got something to say about the way corporate America chews people up and spits them out, and it pairs just as well with revenge films as it would a movie like Office Space. Joe Lynch is a director with a definite style, and this slick, funny, and brutal revenge flick is a movie that I love to revisit. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely make some time for Mayhem. So there you have it, 8 modern revenge films that all take very different paths to getting even. Some of these characters got their satisfaction and walked away clean. Others found out that vengeance comes with a price. And if you had a good time, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if I missed your favorite revenge movie, well, make sure you drop it in the comments. I always love a good tale of vengeance, and the more action, the better. So hit me with your best picks. And you can check out more of my favorite movie lists right here. But that's it for today. I'm CT Reese. Thanks for hanging out with me, and keep watching weird movies. I know I will.